Hi, it's Lee and welcome to the Tesla Economist. As I've said in the past, I believe Cybertruck hitting volume production is going to be a pivotal part of the company, and by association, the stock price. Cybertruck will be the start of taking Tesla to the next level. The next level, which I used to talk about being a $1,000 stock price. Now, that was based on PE ratios during a boom, which likely need to be adjusted. And although they are being heavily compressed now, by the time we're talking reaching this level, then I would expect there to be some alleviation, particularly when we're talking about the end of 2023, if all goes to schedule. Remember though, I said this was the start of Tesla going to the next level, not completing it. Either way, perhaps we would adjust the PE ratio in a recovery time to give us a target stock price of around $750 once we are at this new level. Wow, $750, that sure feels like a big number these days. For the record, my stock price target was $2,000 pre-split price, or $660 post-split, in order for me to hit the level I wanted to retire, of which I was hoping to occur around 2025, although we were starting to get pretty close at one stage. And this leveling up I'm talking about, well, like I said, it should start at around volume production for the Cybertruck. And I feel that if we are at that stage in overall production, then we could return back to about $400 then. Once Tesla has proven to the world 4680s are possible, along with this pickup truck with an absolutely insane list of pre-orders. At this stage, we would have also seen Texas Model Y hit volume production, along with Berlin. Two massive factories making very profitable cars. It feels hard to believe right now, especially with the economy and stock price getting you down. But I don't think Tesla engineers feel the same. I don't think they're going around saying, look guys, the stock price is down, interest rates are up, the economy isn't looking good. As a result, I think it's going to be harder to get these 4680s ramped. That's just inside the investor's head, as their confidence is not as high as it was when the stock price was as high as it was. Tesla are still working around the clock to get these sales ramped up, as they know just how important they are to the company, and they know how profitable they are too. And the same goes for the Cybertruck. Over 1.5 million pre-orders. Even when Tesla are at double volume production, that's enough orders to last for over 3 years. That's also without any advertising, and without probably over 1.49 million of those people ever even seeing the Cybertruck, along with 100% of them not even knowing all the specifications of what the truck is capable of. Just think how many orders will come through once people start seeing him on the road. It's now been over 3 years since the Cybertruck was initially revealed, and we still don't know close to the full specification, although we did recently get a little nugget of information about the charging at the recent semi-truck event. I've been talking to quite a few people about what was said, and there seems to be some ambiguity amongst the community. Elon clearly said though that the V4 chargers will be used for Cybertruck 2, a charger capable of in excess of 1 megawatts. Yes, it didn't actually say 1 megawatt, it said 1 megawatt plus, and a lot believe that that will actually be closer to 1.5 megawatts. The question is though, will the battery of the Cybertruck be limited to a lower charging speed? Some people believe it will be limited to 350 kilowatts, which is still pretty fast, but I think we just don't know yet. And the way Elon said it was as if it was a big deal. If it is possible, I would say it's most likely due to the tabless design of the 4680 cells. I would say if that is the case, then V4 chargers may cost more to use, or perhaps there'll be a paid software upgrade for the Cybertruck to allow to get faster charging. Now, although the semi-truck uses 2170 cells, the fact the battery size is about 1 megawatt hours means it can simply take that much faster charge, as it's a lot bigger battery, whereas the Cybertruck battery wouldn't be close to that size, which has led people to believe that possibly the Cybertruck would have a 200 kilowatt hour battery. That's a huge battery. But then how can it get a range of 500 miles otherwise? Well, Tesla were getting over 400 miles of range with the Model S long range, with 100 kilowatt hours. But given the size of the Cybertruck, we might assume it does way more. Now the current Model Y 4680 battery is estimated to be around 70 kilowatt hours, with 828 cells. However, these cells are not using silicon in the anode, meaning there's plenty of opportunity left to increase the energy density to better than the current 2170 cells. and the Model S is achieving this with the less efficient 18650 cells. We are expecting Tesla to get to 100 watt-hours per 4680 cell without too much difficulty, which would take the 4680 battery we saw at Giga Texas to 83 kilowatt-hours, similar to a long-range Model Y currently. Certainly not a big enough battery to get a Cybertruck to 500 miles though. Also, not close to 200 kilowatt-hours. In fact, for 200 kilowatt-hours, that would require 2 layers of batteries, similar to what Rivian's done. Yes, in case you were wondering why Rivian specs are so good, they have 2 layers of cells, coming in at a total of 180 kilowatt-hours, and that still only generates 400 miles of range. The Rivian ends up weighing 7,000 pounds compared to 5,000 pounds from Model S. Now, we don't know the weight of the Cybertruck, but it is big. However, we might guess that there has been significant weight saving when compared to the Rivian, and a lot of new advanced manufacturing techniques that have reduced weight relative to the Model S. We have the exoskeleton, we have front and rear castings, 4680 cells, and of course structural battery packs, along with many other removed parts. So I think it could possibly end up weighing in at around 6,000 pounds. Now, it's still not going to be possible to get a 500 mile range from a 6,000 pound Cybertruck out of an 83 kilowatt hour battery. However, the 4680 battery pack we saw at Giga Texas, we noticed that it had buffers along the side, enough for 2 more ribbons each side, or an additional 138 cells, taking total cell count to 966 cells. Now we're up to about 97 kilowatt hour of battery. I would say this would likely give mid to high 300 miles of range. I know on the Cybertruck launch, Tesla gave us all these versions of the Cybertruck and the range and performance they would have, along with some ridiculously low prices. But things change, especially when Tesla still knew very little about what the 4680s would achieve and how they would come along. It was all based on cells from labs. Mass production is always harder. Although since then, we also heard about a quad-motor Cybertruck too. However, the semi-truck was also meant to be quad-motor, and now we're hearing it's just a tri-motor. So possibly Tesla will revert back to the tri-motor and forget about the quad-motor. Perhaps it was the appeal of Rivian having 4 motors and the ability to do their tank turn. Although we later discovered that the tank turn was just for marketing and actually practically impossible to pull off. And in reality, how many people who buy the Cybertruck need tank turns? I think after engineering challenges like Falcon Wing doors, Tesla try and roll back complexity and keep things more simplistic, which is best for the level of manufacturing that Tesla is aiming for and to reduce cost. The best part is no part. There's not much advantage for the additional motor. Let other EV makers find niches, Tesla is for the masses. Most consumers do expect the top-of-the-range Cybertruck to be the first launched, whether it is the tri-motor or actually quad-motor, with this 500 miles of range. The reason being that then Tesla would launch the more profitable version first, and consumers would have no choice but to spend this much extra on a Cybertruck. But I don't think this will be the case, and I think it seems pretty obvious as to why. Like I said, without layering the cells on top of each other, then there's no way Tesla can hit that range. And if they did, then there would be so many cells. Cells that are in limited supply. So here's what I think, and I think it's obvious. Tesla will launch the dual-motor Cybertruck to start with, and it will perhaps have 300 miles of range, with a battery size possibly around 80 to 100 kilowatt hours, or 828 to 966 cells, depending on the energy density of the cells and the weight of the Cybertruck. There'd be too much opportunity cost putting so many cells into a 500-mile version, probably 50% more cells required, which could instead make 50% more Cybertrucks. The initial price of the dual motor was going to be $50,000, but since then, even the Model Y long range has nearly increased in price by $20,000. Also, this truck would be just for the US market, and since the Cybertruck reveal, there is now a $7,500 tax credit. On top of that, Tesla didn't expect 1.5 million reservations when they announced the price. With that, I would estimate that the dual-motor Cybertruck would cost between $70,000 to $75,000. There'd be plenty of people willing to pay that much to have a Cybertruck, even if it was just dual-motor. I mean, $70,000 is only $4,000 more than a Model Y, with a smaller battery size. So put it in perspective. Then over time, we are expecting the energy density of the cells to improve, supposedly by as much as 20% by 2024. meaning that Tesla could reach a 120 kilowatt hour battery pack without having to layer the cells. This may not be sufficient to hit 500 miles of range, but it could be mid to high 400s. And perhaps 500 miles of range may not ever happen, or maybe not for a few more years until there are further improvements in energy density again. 500 miles of range really is a lot, and likely not that necessary these days anyway. So that's my estimate for the Cybertruck, a dual motor version released hopefully mid next year, but costing at least $20,000 more than initially advertised. That price increase is not a result of inflation increasing costs, it's likely mostly additional profit. The Cybertruck is going to have a great profit margin. I'm expecting around 50%. However, the selling price is also high, meaning there'll be a lot of profit coming from these vehicles. These profits won't really be noticed until the end of Q1 next year if everything goes to plan. If it starts production in Q3, then there'll likely be a negative gross profit as they ramp up the factory. Then, hopefully to volume production in Q4, and then Q1 2024 should be when we actually see some of the great profits for this vehicle that it's capable of generating, which, if achieved and the economy is in recovery mode, should be when it starts doing wonders for the stock price. Unless the market decides to get ahead of itself because it's so impressed of the Cybertruck and 4680s. Or Tesla have some more magic elsewhere. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.